everyone, I'm Tally, this is Farrell, and we are Bored of It, and welcome to Bored of It's Board Game Highlights, Episode 1. For people that are familiar with our channel, you maybe know that we used to have a series called What We Played. So this is essentially going to be that, but retitled to give us a little bit more freedom and flexibility with what we can talk about. So we're going to talk about some games we've played, maybe some things that we enjoyed, didn't enjoy, maybe some mini reviews embedded within here as well.
Exactly. So actually today we're going to have 3 mini reviews. So like you said, it's a bit more flexibility because it's a bit weird saying what we played in April when we put it out in the middle of May or something like that. Yeah. So we're going to cover all these games today and give our thoughts, as these are what we've been playing lately. And what I would like to point out is that before we start, the games are going to be timestamped so you can jump around. But I would like to draw your attention, if you like roll and writes, to En route, which is a roll and write we've really enjoyed and we'll get into, and also to Lost in the Shuffle. If you are a big fan of puzzle games, escape games, those kind of things, I think it's something that's really blown us away. And we're going to give our review of it here. So it's probably one of the best puzzle things that I've ever played. So do you not agree?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about that. So make sure you check those out. But let's start off with Core of Discovery. First up, we have Core of Discovery, which is the third game from Off the Page Games, a publisher that takes graphic novels and comics and turns their I guess you could say source content into board games. Everyone enjoyed Mind Management, which was their first game. Second game was Harrow County, which we both really enjoyed. And this is their third game, which is now a cooperative game. The others were kind of competitive. And essentially it's a mix of survival game and logic puzzle. So you're kind of working your way around a grid, trying to complete a mission or objectives. And on your turn, you'll kind of pick a space to uncover and see what type of resources there, or if it's a monster or something like that. And there are set kind of number of rules that say, this is next to that, and this is diagonal to this, that you can use to figure your way around, make educated guesses, and hopefully not die in the wilderness. So
never ideal. Yeah, have been really enjoying this. Co-ops aren't typically our favourite type of game. We do enjoy them, but it's not something we usually reach for. We wouldn't say it was our favourite.
Yeah, more and more, and I'm getting ashamed of ourselves.
Yeah, but no, enjoying this. I think I really like how there is some logic to it. So yeah, there'll always be like water next to a rock or whatever it might be. But at the same time, at some point, you do just have to guess. So I think it's quite fun in that way because you talk together and say, I think that's there and that's there. But then you kind of make a decision, or maybe we should just guess at this point because we're kind of running out of time. Because there's kind of a time limit, right, of different challenges that you have to overcome. Yeah, you can't always explore everything, can logic it down. Sometimes you do just have to guess. So I don't know, I personally like that, which usually I actually don't love that kind of thing where it's just, I'll just guess. One of my worst games from last year, what was it called? Spectral.
I disagree, you had to guess that. I think it's the complete opposite. But
just guessing, arbitrary guessing.
No.
Whereas this, I think it's because you're obviously talking with a partner, the table talk makes that part more fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm excited to see where else it will go. Maybe my only criticism's a bit strong, but I do think so far the games we've played, you don't have so much autonomy in what you're doing in a way, or there's not so much you can bring as an individual. You do have some gear cards and a character card, but I don't feel like I'm bringing so much to the table that's like from me. It's like more that you discuss together and decide what to do, if that makes sense.
I've heard people say that they've kind of said, aside from the fact that you have character cards and equipment and you can only play them on your turn, is there any point in having turns? If that makes sense? Because you basically, nobody's going to go off-road unless you really like hate each other and go, I'm picking this one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can overrule,
Yeah.
right? You could decide to flip over something that your partner didn't agree with.
Yeah.
But that hasn't happened to us. We've kind of mostly agreed, I think. So, yeah, I think you really are it's one of the most cooperative games we've played in terms of you do make those decisions together, and there's not so much that you can personally do.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true though. I think another thing that I would say, so I really enjoyed it. And one of the things is, it might be my least favorite of their 3 games, but at the same time, we did play it literally 4 times in a row when we got it out for the first time, which says something. That's not a common thing. I think one thing I would warn you about is that, like you say, sometimes you are taking random decisions and it is random. I think that will be a core criticism of people about this game, that and I do think it sometimes, but I think it's more map dependent, because the way this works is you have different maps for the same scenario. So then you kind of replay these scenarios with different formulations of stuff. And one thing I think I've noticed is that some elements have rules that are very meshed together, like, food being near this and skulls being near that, and all kind of links. So if you get 1 or 2 of those, you can make a lot of like smart deductions or guesses. But if you get into a patch which is just water and sticks, there's nothing about that except there's maybe more water and sticks nearby. So then I found sometimes if you get into the right patches, or just like a patch of rocks or something, right, there's not a lot else it's going to tell you. And then you can kind of just be flipping over for a few turns, like randomly. And I think people will get annoyed by that. And I think it really, depends like where you are in the map and the map formulation.
Whereas I quite like that. I thought it was quite dramatic. Sometimes we were just like pointing at it and we were like, go, flip, see what's under there.
But you do also get great moments where you have these educated guesses. And I remember one point we spent a lot of time debating, like, if it could be this one or it could be that one, and we're going back and forth. And then we're like, no, let's do this one. And it was right. And it was like, exactly, we need that resource or else we're like pretty done for.
Exactly, it's a good moment. It's a good feeling, like, hey.
But so more to come. I think the version of the game we have only has 2 scenarios, and there's a couple more in expansions. And I think I would be interested to try those out and see how they change things up. But we'll see how much it gets played. But that is Core of Discovery. Welcome to what is our review of Lost in the Shuffle. And this is a puzzle game contained in a deck of cards. So it's essentially a standard 52 card deck with some jokers. And this is very much in the vein of escape rooms, puzzle games, where
riddles.
Yeah, exactly. All kinds of like brain worky type things. So this is something that we were asked to review and thought, let's give it a go. Didn't really know what to expect. And I'll bury the lead by just saying it's blown me out of the water. I'm like really addicted to this and I really enjoy it. So what you have is this deck of cards, and on each card is an individual puzzle, but also sometimes multiple cards fit together for a puzzle, basically. And it's quite interesting because you're given a kind of the easy one to start on. They say, check this one out first. And then you're just kind of let loose. You just sift through this deck of cards and figure out what do you want to tackle.
Whatever catches your eye, basically.
Exactly.
And then you can start with that or whichever one you think that you could solve. But and then you input the answers into a website, right? A web browser, like kind of have a team name so that you can come back to it, sort of like use your team name as a login.
Exactly.
And every card has at least one right answer, and you just type it in and it will tell you it's right. So then we're kind of filling out kind of ace, 2, 3 of each suit. You kind of get a tick. But some of them have multiple. And we have both got quite addicted to it.
Spent a lot of hours playing it.
Yeah, it's been really, it's like fun stress to me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just when you get really fixated on trying to solve one thing, but you don't know there could be more cards involved. And yeah, it's just very tricky, but very, very fun at the same time. Very satisfying when you actually get one right.
Yeah.
And the puzzles are very fun, right? And
yeah, no, I was just going to say there's this great little noise when you enter into the website and it's like da-da-da-da. And it really like hits the serotonin part of my brain every time I do it. It's really fun. I really enjoy that little sound.
Yeah, but no, we've been having a really good time with this. Really many hours, can be whiled away playing this.
It goes so quickly.
A few nights this week we've said, oh, let's just sit down and play the puzzle game together. It's kind of a weird one because some of them we have worked on together, like literally sat with the cards together, but other times we've kind of gone off on our own a little bit and I'll work on this, you work on that. Really just depends how you want to play it, up to you. And yeah, we accidentally spending hours at a time. I look at the clock and you know, I've been working on one puzzle or something for the last 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah, so I think just to highlight, there's an absolutely terrific variety in the puzzles. There are all sorts of things. I think while touching on that, one downside I would say is that because every answer is a single word, there's a lot of them that end up, and sometimes it's because you haven't ordered them properly when you're solving it, and other times it is supposed to be an anagram. So you end up with anagrams. And that is the one single thing. I'm not big on this personal. I'm not big on word puzzles.
Yeah.
Or like Scrabble or anything like that. For some reason, I don't really know why. I like reading, I like writing and stuff. And so a lot of times you end up doing anagrams, I think, as a final step. And that for me is, but at that point you've already solved the puzzle. So it's a little different, right? But I get a little bit tired of that sometimes. It's my only
I
negative.
think the thing is it's sometimes hard to know whether it is supposed to be an anagram or not, right?
Yeah, because sometimes it's in order, but if you've just done it out of order, then it's your fault, really.
Yeah, but what I think is quite unexpected and cool about this is that you are expected to Google things and use the internet.
Yeah.
I think it would be very difficult to complete without it.
Exactly.
Sometimes you can be working on something for ages and it's just nonsensical. Then you Google it and it turns out that is like a thing, a real thing that you didn't know about. Sometimes that can be a bit difficult as well to know, is this the puzzle and this is not a real thing, let's say, or you should Google.
Exactly.
But yeah, I guess to me, I think that's quite funny. I was working on one for a long time and we were looking at it for a long time, like, what does that mean? And then I Googled something and it was, I should have Googled it, 2 hours ago or whatever. So that's just something to note as well, that you are expected to kind of come out of the game in a way and research things.
I think what I find really cool as well is what I've found playing this is that you start and you look through these cards and you pick out some ones that, they seem simple and you solve them. And then you look at some and you're like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. And what I've found is that we haven't really, so there's also the website is really terrific that you enter your information in. It gives you like this code sheet, which you need for a lot of the puzzles. It gives you, it has a terrific hint system where a lot of the hints have like 10 or 12 steps and it starts from like, you need these cards for this puzzle to like giving you the answer and explaining it. And everything in between. So you can kind of like go one step closer without
getting too much of a spoiler.
So I think that's really clever. Yeah. But we haven't actually had to use them that much. And what I find is that as you kind of work at it, and there's this whole like joke theme about expanding your brain. And it does feel like that because I find that the more we do it, the more I'm getting these puzzles and these links and like figuring out how to solve them and how to think about it. And I think that's really cool that we're not just always being like, back to the hints.
Yeah, that's true. Try and think a little bit more outside the box. And the more that you do them and learn them, you can apply those same logics maybe to other things or, think about things in a different way. Yeah,
there's also
that's really, really fun.
Like this kind of story basic going on in the background that you see video clips of every now and then when you like unlock stuff. And I find it pretty funny. Yeah, I didn't really expect that. So I think every element of this has really impressed me. I've really enjoyed playing it. I'm actually looking really forward to giving it to our friends when we're done with it.
Yeah.
So I think it'll blow their minds as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, all I can say is if you're into puzzles, check out Lost in the Shuffle. I've never played anything quite like it, and it's occupying all my time. So
Yeah.
To the next game. Next up, we have Innovation Ultimate, the Ultimate Innovation Collection. So this is not a new game, but it is new to us. We backed the campaign, as we'd heard really good things about it being a great 2-player game. And I think we both enjoyed it. We've been playing it a lot. It's kind of an abstracted civilization builder where all you're doing on your turn is either drawing cards, kind of playing cards, or activating the cards you've played. And you're kind of trying to gather up points or kind of claim achievements, because the game can end in a few different ways, either if it goes a distance or if a certain player gets so many achievements. But to get achievements, you need points and cards of certain kind of values. And you kind of start in prehistory, and then you kind of get, the cards are all named after some sort of invention or idea, archery, industry, stuff like that. And it's, quite a tense, mean 2-player game.
Yeah, it's really interesting because in some ways it reminds me of the Imperium series, because you're kind of building your tableau in front of you, activating actions when it makes sense. But we have said when we reviewed that it's one of the most solitaire games we've ever played, to the point where one of us will go off and do chores while the other one's taking a turn. Whereas this one is a very interesting twist that if somebody has the same amount or more, kind of every action has a symbol associated with it, like just leaf, for example. If your opponent has the same amount of leaves across their tableau as you or more, they also get to do the action. Yeah. So you're constantly engaged in what the other person has and what they're doing in front of you, because there could be times where you really want to do something, but you really don't want them to do it. Yeah. So I'm constantly looking over at your tableau. And I think that's really interesting for this type of game, which could otherwise typically be, a bit solitary. So I think the engagement here is really good, and it plays in a really good time as well. I enjoy it, but it is quite stressful because it is a bit antagonistic as well. There are cards where you force the opponent to give you some of your cards. You could build up like really nice hand, and then a card says, you have to give me your hand or swap hands. Or
steal points, basically. Swap points, steal points. That's a common one.
So it's quite interesting, and the more you play it, the more you know what might crop up, and maybe you could try and protect yourself. You should build up more symbols or something if you don't want, negative action from the other player to happen to you. So there's a lot going on. I think it's pretty snappy. Turns can be quite snappy. Gets more and more tense towards the end. As you're getting towards the end trigger, the cards get kind of more powerful, let's say.
Yeah, exactly. So, or they could even just end the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I was trying to do last time. I was really trying. Did you win the last game?
Yeah.
The first one.
I mean, how many times have we played it?
4 or 5.
That's fine. I'm happy with that.
No, it's just because I got one of these cards and it was like, you need 20 of these symbols and you win. I had like 18 and never drew another one for about 20 minutes. Yeah.
Well, I say most of them are tense. I mean, last game was tense. We basically went to the bitter end. It's good fun. I like it. Quite a lot to think about, and loads going on with just some cards, basically.
I think, it's great how much of a game there is with a card with like literally a word on it, like a single action, and then some symbols.
Yeah.
And this box actually comes with 5 expansions. We've only tried the first one because we wanted to get to grips with the base game first. And I think that was pretty interesting as well. It kind of added more symbols and points and different ways of thinking about things. So I'm looking forward to trying the others. But it was a really good 2-player game for sure. I think because it becomes zero-sum at 2 players. So whatever you're doing, you kind of have to beat the other player or let them take the action, which is quite interesting. So it was nice to play one of these games which is very interactive.
Yeah, exactly.
So innovation. Now, time for another review. This time, not of Trailblazers, which we actually have a review of on the channel. This is a review of the expansion. Well, I should have said the Sasquatch expansion for Trailblazers. So this, if you do not know, is a route building game essentially, where you have kind of cards which have all types of different like twisty routes on them, and you're trying to kind of place them down on your turn, and you're building these big long loops that kind of start at a campsite and go back to that campsite, and the longer the better, while also trying to meet some really hellish objectives. But the expansion takes what is a very solitaire game, because you're all building your own campsites, and makes it both cooperative and with a hidden traitor element, which is like really bizarre, but it was really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So how it changes the game is that now everyone gets a secret role. So you're human or you're Sasquatch. And basically Sasquatch wants nothing to do with these trails being built
It's fair enough.
in their home. So the Sasquatch player is trying to tank the game by kind of, I guess, making routes go away
Routes
from the
to
campsite.
nowhere.
Yeah, basically. And putting cards with animal symbols into a kind of a discard pile, because you'll always play a card and discard a card, which can be used later. And then I think what's really interesting about it is there's a lot of different ways it can shake out for such a simple concept, because Sasquatch can reveal themselves, or a player could accuse someone of being Sasquatch, and then if they are, they have to reveal themselves, or it can kind of go the distance, and then if no one was revealed to be Sasquatch, it kind of comes down to points.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that can go on. I find that really interesting.
Yeah, no, really enjoyed this, and like very, very smart to turn a game, like you said, that is solitaire into something completely different with just some like extra cards, basically. It's like incredibly smart. Yeah, I think it's very funny that the Sasquatch, when we were playing, we were just constantly accusing each other.
This is exactly what I was thinking while you were talking.
It is really, but yeah, like, oh, that looks a bit Sasquatchy. That's something a Sasquatch would do. So there's a lot of that kind of like banter across the table. And if you are, I mean, I actually never was Sasquatch in all the games we played, but I would imagine if you are, you really have to tread that balance between, obviously you want to get the routes to go nowhere, because how it works that you can say, you can reveal at some point, hey, I'm Sasquatch, and then the other players who are human have X amount of turns to make the route back to camp.
Yeah.
So you've got to do it just at the right time so that you're kind of far enough away. But if you stop putting tiles down, which is obviously leading really far away, then you're going to get accused of being Sasquatch. So yeah, a lot of chat and banter, you're Sasquatch. And when our friend, no, was it you Sasquatch first?
I was Sasquatch first, and then our friend. No, and then there was no Sasquatch, and then our friend.
Yeah, I think it was when you were Sasquatch, and you were just thinking that we were never going to make it, right? I can't remember if we did make it or not.
No,
or if we didn't, we came
the
extremely
Sasquatch
close.
won every time there was a Sasquatch.
Yeah, so then the Sasquatch comes out of the game, and then it's up to the humans, and it's just quite a funny dynamic, really, for the Sasquatch to just sit back and watch and
As
like,
humans
are they going to
struggle.
do it? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, very funny. The only thing maybe I would say is the game when we all were human was, I wouldn't say like less interesting, but I think it was quite obvious that we were all human.
Well, we talked about this at the time, because I can't remember if you or a friend did some Sasquatchy things, and I was like really close. I was literally this close, and I was like, one more Sasquatchy move, and I'm calling it. And if you call wrong, the humans all lose. So, but I was like, and then they just kind of went away from doing Sasquatchy things.
Yeah.
And it like came, and I was like, okay, yeah, like the last third, I was like, we're probably all humans.
Because you get 2 tiles, but the opponents don't. No, you can see them, can't
No,
you?
you only see what they choose. The
Yeah,
other
so you
one's
don't only see
hidden.
what they choose, and then one gets discarded. So you might end up with 2 tiles, which neither of them are ideal, right? To kind of try and close the loops that you're trying to close, and there's nothing you can do, and then you, get suspicious. But so that's quite funny as well. Sometimes you just have no choice but to put something down, which is not ideal. But the players don't know that because they don't see the other tile that you get.
Exactly. I just think there's a lot of fun, and like you said, I think my favorite memories were just being like, that's something Sasquatch would do. That's Sasquatchy.
I was getting a bit annoyed, to be honest, because I never once was Sasquatch.
And yeah, you were questioned the most.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, it's just it's a lot of fun, and I like the fact that if Sasquatch is revealed, then the players have the choice to take from the discard decks, which go in like the suits, you could say, of the trails. But Sasquatch can like kind of load the deck with things they don't want and also wrong cards. So there's also this element of like, we know we put good cards in there, but how many cards did Sasquatch put in there?
Yeah.
And that element comes in. There's just a lot of fun, and like I said, a lot of different ways it can go, which is quite interesting for something that doesn't really have an added rule set or much of one. So I would say, it's a bit difficult because it's probably not an expansion you want to play with every time, but it would probably be my preferred way to play it, I think, if you're in a situation where you had like a couple of people.
Yeah, agree. I think it's a pretty fun party game's a bit strong, but yeah, you could crack it out when you've got some friends around and just want something kind of light and fun and start some banter to play.
But it's a very small expansion, so if you have Trailblazers already, I'd definitely recommend
you
picking
might as
up.
well get it, right?
Yeah, and give it a go. So that was Trailblazers, the Sasquatch expansion. What's this? Another review. And this one is for En route, a stroll and write game, which is essentially a flip and write game. And this was provided to us by the publisher. Now, we have a fondness for roll and writes, flip and writes. We've got a fair collection. It's our favorite chill out genre of games for sure. And I think we both really enjoyed this one.
Yeah.
So the theme is that you're a tour guide showing tourists around a kind of famous city, basically. Hitting all the kind of destination spots.
The tourist spots.
Yeah, things people want to see. The highlights and the, national symbols and all of that. Christ the Redeemer, etc., etc. So the way it kind of works is that on your turn, you're going to put a card in the middle, and this card will have a number on it, and also some random assortment of tourists, which are divided into colors. Then the other players are going to put cards alongside it. So you have 3 in the middle, and then you're going to choose one of those cards to keep. And what this does is leaves you with 2 numbers, which are grid coordinates. So you're going to have a grid as your player board, and you might have 4-2. And you can basically put that in the kind of 2-4 section or the 4-2 section. So you have a little bit of choice about where you go. But you're basically going to throw all those tourists in there. And then you're going to draw like a route of kind of 2 line segments around that box. And you're eventually going to keep doing this and build a route. And you're going to be scoring for kind of things you touch upon. So the number of red places you show tourists to, you'll score per red tourist. That kind of thing. You'll also, there's a lot of different ways to score. Certain places give you points for just passing them. Other things give you points the kind of more certain cards come up if you choose to score those. And there's a lot of different maps in here actually, and they all have their own unique gimmick, which I think is one of the highlights. So what did you think? Yeah,
no, really like it. It's not complex, but there are a lot of decisions to make, I think.
I think
it's a bit brain boggling, and I was finding it at some point. I was like, so it's difficult, but only because it's difficult to choose what to do. So like you say, you have the decision whether you want to put 4-2 or 2-4.
Yeah.
You can also do the route. You draw two lines of your route if you draw it out from where you put the tourist, but you can also choose to do it somewhere else, but then you only get to do one line. So it's very important that your route should kind of link up by the end.
Yeah,
because you have to choose one linear line, basically. So if you have any branches coming off it, you delete them, or you can choose to go down them, but you just don't score for them. So the route has to be continuous. So it's always very difficult because you might want to put some tourists in a certain place, but is that going to mean that your route links up in the end? Because it all needs to link up to score it. And it's devastating sometimes at the end where you just didn't manage to link something, a route up there with the rest of your route, because in the beginning of the game you think, I'll just draw it in the top right corner, I'll do something in the top left, hopefully throughout the game I can link them up, and then you just don't manage to, and then you have to wipe it all away. So yeah, a lot of different decisions here to make and ways to score. You could go in for going past, like you said, the kind of red, green, blue sites if you have a lot of those coloured tourists, or go for the big sites which get you just kind of like flat points. And yeah, I think the different city maps are really interesting as well, and the little ways to score and the gimmicky things in each one are quite cool as well. Like one has where you can go across the river, right, and make your route link up as long as you can, go across the river in a certain way. So yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, I think played a lot of roller rights, and I was really pleasantly surprised by this. I just really like kind of what it's doing, and as you said, this puzzle of the coordinates, because it's kind of this nice balance of you are semi in control because you're always going to, at least at 2 players, put a number card in. Yeah. But it's also out of your control, so you're kind of having to pivot, and you want to connect these lines up, but it's always better if you can draw 2 lines as opposed to just drawing one way you want, because then you're kind of losing space on your route across the game. So there's a lot of interesting things like that I really enjoyed. And I just also enjoyed that to a small extent, it's more interactive than most roller rights because of this battle in the middle. And this is quite funny sometimes when you might pick, you'll pick the middle number and put a 2, and I need to go to 1. Yeah. And then I just put 1 and 1 because I've locked into having those cards. And then you got to pick a 1, right? Yeah, you're always thinking about what you need and therefore what cards you want to put down, or just hoping the other player puts a 2 down because you really need like 2, 3. Yeah. And that is quite interesting, and I think sets it apart maybe from other roll and rights, which are, everyone can use everything, for example, that gets flipped. You're trying to manipulate what's there and based on what the other players put down as well. Yeah, so I think to wrap up, if you're into rolling rights, I definitely recommend it. I think that there's just a lot of variety in this box as well. It's surprisingly deep with all these different cities and maps. So, I mean, we've played a fair few games of this now, and we haven't seen all the maps because there's so many, right? So that's something I look forward to exploring a bit more as well. But that is En Route, a stroll and write game. Our final game of this video is an RPG, Shadowdark. Now, this is a quite popular, recent-ish RPG of the last few years. And in short, it's kind of a very streamlined version of Dungeons and Dragons. It has a very similar rule set, but kind of no fluff, essentially. So it's extremely approachable, easy to get into. And just, it's great for first timers, people who want a more simpler experience. And I think we have really enjoyed playing. We've kind of had two sessions now. I think so, yeah. Yeah, 2 sessions of it. And essentially what you do to create your character, there's different ways, but it comes with the suggestion of gauntlets, which is basically really dangerous dungeons that you put level 0 characters in, and everyone kind of generates like 4 or 5 of them because a bunch of them are going to die, and then whoever makes it out is essentially your character. So we've done 2 of those because the first one we kind of it went on too long, we didn't really finish, and then we did another one basically, and then we did end up with some characters for you because I'm the GM. Yeah, exactly. No, definitely been enjoying it. I think it remains to see how it will go, right? Because like you said, that's been the gauntlet to further it along. I really liked how that was, it's hard to describe. It's very free in a way because your character doesn't have like so much. There's not so much about them in terms of like abilities or whatever, at least so far. That will come, I guess. But in the beginning,
So that part, you know, you could like make them whoever. You just have some like strength and, you know, very, very basic things. Whereas the RPGs that we've been playing over the last year or so, most of them you really like flesh out your character.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because they're kind of going to die. But the scenario that we had in the beginning was, escaping the dungeon. And I really liked how set that was in a way. Because you know that you have this goal, and then how you get there, you can just, make it up obviously as you go along about how you're going to achieve it. But I like that there was something in mind at the end, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It is very fun. Excited to play more. But I will say about the characters, like I just mentioned, we are used to playing ones where the characters are fleshed out a bit more. I've found it a lot harder to get into any kind of character with this. Maybe it's because you just don't get attached because they're likely going to die. But usually you can kind of just go straight in and imagine kind of who they are in other RPGs we've played. Whereas
I'm just laughing about our last session because you were saying about inhabiting the characters, and the person who did inhabit their characters the most kept getting them killed.
Yeah.
True. And what was it? I think one of them, her character got attacked and died.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And then the other one, she was betrayed by one of the other characters and like knocked overboard and drowned in the little boat. And she was so mad.
Yeah.
No, it was really fun.
I mean, in a way, you can just make them whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
Like, not when you think about it and thinking of those characters, but maybe this is a personal preference, but there just wasn't for me like so much to go on.
Yeah.
So I could never figure out how they would act or what they would say at any given moment. I was just more reacting to whatever situation it was, but not really I felt like I wasn't putting any flavour on it.
Yeah.
So, but maybe that will come as we go. But I think for me, I need something to kind of start with in a way to know who they are.
Yeah, well, now that we've kind of done the gauntlet and you've picked your classes, because I think, like you said, it's good for an introduction because I think at least one of our friends had never played an RPG before, and it just strips away a lot of stuff, right? It is basically like you have like a dagger. Some people don't even have a weapon, right? You're just like wandering around and interacting with things. So it's very simplified. So I think that's quite nice. And now they're familiar with how things work. We've picked the classes for you guys. And so now like, you're Susan the priest elf, right? So then it's you can inhabit that a little bit more, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And I definitely think our friend who is going to play as a witch and have a familiar is definitely going to be able to easily inhabit that.
Yeah.
Because it's very much her vibe.
Yeah.
So, I think I'm really excited to play again because we've done 2 dungeon crawls basically. And I'm not 100% sure if we'll do another one or more freeform. But I'm just really excited because now you guys have abilities and just to see how it works when you're out and about.
How do you feel about being the DM on this one compared to other RPGs you played?
Yeah, I think I've liked it a lot just because it is quite simple in terms of the rules, and also when it's these dungeons, it's like being in control of an escape room.
Yeah.
I think just the way that things are, like you guys are really cracked me up, like trying to solve the puzzle, both when you're like bumbling around and also when you're like doing it right. So that was a lot of fun. So I think there'll probably be more to come on Shadowdark. I think just to note that while we bought it ourselves, we did get a discount because we'll eventually do a full review of it. So that has been our video of Bordovit's highlights.
Recent
highlights. So we really hope it was helpful. If you have any questions about any of these games, please ask us. Please consider subscribing if you're not already. And we really appreciate you watching, and we hope this was of interest to you. See ya.
Bye.